Hello and welcome to the Bear Right Trail podcast. I am your host, Sam Kirk, here, of course, with my co-host, Chris Lewars, and we have two wonderful guests tonight. We have, stars from this year's most recent hat run, PK, and that is the RD, Tim Gavin, and the men's champion, Patrick Blair, here tonight. And we're just excited to celebrate all things about this race, talk about what happened this year, what has happened in years past, and hopefully celebrate the future of the race. So, Chris, you excited to welcome these guests here tonight?
I certainly am. It was nice to have the pre-race podcast, and that was great in its own right with the PA and Bear Right Trail team taking on the Maryland guys down there, and so that was fun in its own right. But to wrap this up and have Tim on, with us tonight is really special. Hat's been a really long-standing in the area, and looking forward to recount some of this year's race, but then also learn about some of the history. Looking forward to that, and where Tim sees things moving in the future. So thank you guys. Thanks Tim. Thanks Pat. Sam, looking forward to kicking this one off.
Yeah, let's start here with Pat. Let's hear a little bit about how your race day went out there, how you felt about the competition and things along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, the competition was super deep. You guys really brought a strong team. It was crazy. You kind of blew us out of the water as far as the team competition goes. But we put up a good fight. It was all right. Going into the race, my number one thing was just to avoid my stomach issues that I've had at this race in the past and a lot of races. So that was a big success. But I think one of my downfalls to avoid the stomach issue, which I just didn't get enough calories in. So I kind of bonked in those last couple miles when I was racing super hard against Rob. But yeah, I mean, Rob, actually in the first, so we started out and through the fields, when I turned around, I started talking to Rob. I thought it was Chris. And I was talking to him and I was like, Chris, I thought you always started out slow.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he said, but I mean, and then I would see him cause I was going up the hills slower, so he would catch up to me, and then I would go down the hills a little faster, and I would get a gap. And sometimes I would see him through the woods. I'm like, "You got this, Chris. Go, Chris. You're doing great."
That's awesome.
But then the last like 4 miles of every lap, so the last 4 miles of the first lap were all uphill, so he caught me. And then I turned around and looked at him. I was like, "Wait a minute, you're Rob. You've been Rob the whole time." He's like, "Yeah, totally."
That's too funny.
He never corrected you.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know if he heard me saying Chris the whole time. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But then we came through that halfway aid station, and we were together, and we were like, man, it would be weird and kind of wild if we were still together at the end of the second lap. And I was like, we were both like, there's no way that's going to happen. And it actually kind of didn't happen, even though we were only 26 seconds apart at the finish line. I left that aid station, and I started attacking the hills on the second lap. So I built up a gap of like 4 minutes, but then I lost all my 4 minutes on the last 4 miles again, going up the hill when I bonked. And then in the field, I'm looking back because I'm scared. I think he's coming, but maybe he's not because I have no idea. I haven't seen him the entire second lap. And I didn't know that I had built up that 4 minutes. I just didn't know where he was. And then I hit that road and I can see him on the field and I can see his white hat because he had a white hat on. I was like, oh no. And just so scared. I'm like, no, he will not take this from me. He will not take this from me. And he almost got me. I mean, 26 seconds. Oh man, it was so close.
What a race.
If he had another mile, he would have got me. Another mile I would have lost. No doubt.
What a race. It was exciting to hear about it. And I couldn't believe that you guys really didn't see each other on the second loop. That's amazing.
Not at all. Yeah,
that's
and then 26 seconds. Not even. Never saw him. Even on those long road sections when you could look back, I couldn't see him.
So where did you guys separate?
I felt him. I knew he was close.
Yeah, you felt him. Yeah, exactly. But so Pat, where did you guys first make that, or where did you first make that separation from Rob at 17 aid station?
I had, before the end of the first lap, I had a minute, maybe 2 minutes on him. And then with the 4 miles of uphill, he caught me. So then we came into the aid station together. And then we went into the aid station, and I've always been very quick with my aid stations. I dropped my bottle, I picked up my bottle, and I left. And he stayed, and he probably left a minute behind me. And then I built my gap, and then I lost my gap at the very end.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
I know Rob had said you were very fast through that aid station, and he felt like he was efficient through it. He was like, it's not.
Yeah, he wasn't slow.
he was just
No.
you were lightning fast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was trying to help him get out
Yeah,
of
I
the
just-
aid station too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you knew it, Tim. I'm sure you saw it, and hey, like these two guys could do battle here throughout the whole
yeah.
second loop. Let's get this is important. You're losing some valuable seconds. Yeah, wow, that's interesting.
Because we're tracking you guys the whole time, so we
Yeah.
had people telling us where you were. You came
Yeah.
through this way. You came through here. All of our course marshals out there were texting us, so we knew what
Wow.
was going on and
Yeah.
how it was playing out. So we're like,
Yeah.
so we all had bets where you guys were going to finish.
Oh,
who
that's
was going to
awesome.
finish under 4 hours? Who wasn't?
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, let's get in on
I love
this.
it. Yeah, we got to hear this.
Everyone, this is the stuff that we didn't know at all.
Yeah.
Let's hear all about it.
Yeah.
It's, we watched the podcast, and
Mhm.
everyone was, hey, 4 hours looks good. That'd be a
Yeah.
great time. Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
We didn't, we changed the course in 2019, added what we call the orchards and some fields. I think we call it Gross's Gulch. Yeah, I know that this means nothing to you. It's things for us, what we call the course. And we knew that all right, this is going to be more of a challenge than what it used to. Because it used to, we'd come, the finish of the big loop would come to the beginning of Stepping Stone Museum and then just run straight down that road. And then you turn right at the bottom into the trail and back up. And so it was like 1.9 miles from that gate, but it was pretty quick because you had a road section.
Yeah.
And so now we added those fields with the zigzags and not a really good trail.
Yeah.
And down by the creek with the rocks and the roots. And we're like, this is not a fast section. So we weren't sure how it was going to hold up. So we knew some of those earlier 3 hours, 50-minute times. We're like, I don't know how good that is. And so we're like, those guys came through the first loop. We're like, I think they're going to make it. But that's it. That's just those two.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny.
And then we weren't sure because we were paying, watching you go through the upper aid, lower aid, upper, lower aid, lower. And we're like, I don't know, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight.
Yeah.
And so we kept changing our minds. We're like, I don't know, it's going to be 401. And then,
that's great.
We got the notification you had entered what we call Phil's Forest. It's the last trail section. You cross that road on the yellow.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're like, he's going to make it, but it's going to be tight. And you were 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes under. That's stout. That's a really good time.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah, what a race. So Ultra Sign Up has the course record at, I don't know, 3 hours and 20 minutes or something. So this course you said started in 2019. So so Pat has the course record now, right?
Modern day, that's our current.
Yeah.
And it's going to change next year because they just rerouted us. The green,
Pat,
The
you
green
got
sheet-
this for life.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the thing about course records,
Yeah.
the conditions, everything's so different every year.
Yeah, they modified the course, so it's going to be we have to make some small changes. It's going to add like a 1/4 mile per loop, so we have to figure out where do we cut a 1/2 mile overall.
Okay.
Or where can we
Interesting.
add and do,
Yeah.
all the fun things to think about for next year.
Wow.
Awesome. Can't wait. I'm there.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
Well, I would expect that you could cut some stuff out of those early loops in order to do that.
That would be our goal. I would love to make that just a opening lap around the parking lot and then 2 big loops.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Love it.
We're not.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more in the sections to open up, but we're not quite there to have the full course to do that. When I first ran Hat, that's the way it was. They had designed a course that was roughly 2 15-mile loops and a mile in the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So tell us about your history with Hat then. So you were a racer first, and then took on some responsibilities clearly with it.
A little bit. I think they played a trick on us when they got us involved. But so I think I ran it in 2003, 4, and 5, and because of that, I got to know Phil, which I think some of you met Phil at the beginning of the race potentially. So he's the Anderson, and he befriended my friend and I, Mike, because you know how you get into this ultra running with a friend, right? Because like, hey, we did a marathon, let's go do something else. And you're like, oh no, it's crazy, but you do.
Yeah.
And so they started talking to us and getting us involved. And so, 1 year, I think 2006, I think Phil just asked me, hey, can you come out and volunteer and do, I think I was a gopher. You'd be my gopher. So I just ran from upper aid to lower and back and forth. And then he's like, hey, you did a good job. You want to be in charge of the lower aid station? And Mike and I were like, sure, that'd be great. This would be fun. This would be a way to give back. We like doing this stuff, so let's do it. And that's when we first did ultra or the French fries. We didn't.
Okay.
We tried to decide what do we like after an ultra, and we're like, we like going to McDonald's, getting a Coke and French fries. So
That's great.
Let's do this on the course. And you guys probably didn't try the French fries on course. You guys are running.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't get any French fries.
I wish
Maybe a 100-miler.
Yeah.
It's
You
more
say,
for
wish I had.
Yeah.
the mid pack to the back of the pack fun.
It's
folks,
great,
but-
though. It's a great thing to do. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And so we didn't even tell Jeff and Phil that we were doing it. We thought they'd yell at us and we were going to get in trouble. So this is all
awesome.
just done under the radar with our turkey fryers, and we're like, hey, let's try some French fries. And then it caught on.
That's great.
Now it's part of something we do. And
Yeah.
after we did the lower
So
A,
cool.
I think Phil had a heart attack, and he was like, I need to step down a little bit.
Yeah.
And they invited us to jump in. So my friend Mike and I jumped in, and I've been a race director ever since.
Wow. So what year was that? So how long then have you been?
Personally, I think
The RD.
2008.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's funny
great.
because it's usually
That's a long time.
it's usually we like with Gin. Gin is now one of our race directors. I remember when I hooked him into trying to to become a race director. I showed him the splits in the course, and when you look at splits, there's always going to be anomalies, right? So you try to think maybe they just had a bad first loop and they just had a really really good second loop. Try not to think the worst, but it's hard sometimes not to have your brain go there. So he saw some of those times and he was like, we gotta put marshals out there to make sure people are doing the whole course. And one of the benefits of marshals for us, really, well, we didn't know it at the time. We thought we were going to make sure everyone ran the right course, but for us, it was runner accountability. Now we knew where everyone was on course, and so at the end of the race, we're accounted for. No one's out on the course lost, which is a great feeling as a race director. You're like, nothing worse than someone out on the course and you got to go find them. So he did such a good job with that. We were just like, hey, again, you might want to help us out with other things. And so we pulled him in to help us out. And he's been amazing ever since. And similarly with Seth, the other race director, we always need help with our volunteers, which you've mentioned. And that's a what do you call the thing that's a holdover from old times? Jeff and Phil had the best volunteers when I ran the race. They always got them excited. They always did good things for the volunteers. So we've been trying to just continue that along. And we still have people who've been volunteering for 25 plus years coming back every year. So it's wonderful for us. We love that part. Yeah. So anyway, Seth runs that. And so he started volunteering for that. And after a while, we're like, hey, Seth, you're doing such a good job with that. Why don't you come help us out? So every year it's a little different. So now we're getting old. So we're like, we need to find some young people and bring them in and be like, hey guys, why don't you do this? Now
there you go.
Wow.
And then magically, somebody else gets roped in, and like somehow 15 years of their life is gone, and they
Oh yeah, it becomes a family thing. I mean, my wife made all the jambalaya at the end of the race.
Oh, that was
you guys had any of that
was
food.
so good.
That was amazing. I think I went back for. I split the vegan and the meat together, and I was like, oof, that's for anyone, any tips, any post race tips for 2026 if the jambalaya is going to be back, it's to mix the two together. That hit the spot after the race. But yeah, really really amazing. I mean, you talked about the marshals, the volunteers. It just incredible, the support, and at least personally, Pat and Sam, I know you'd agree and attest to this, but I always want to show my appreciation for those, specifically, volunteering out on the course and at aid stations, helping the runners. But it was almost even more so, during HAP, because you have so many volunteers out there. The course is so well marked. Yeah. And like you said, it's interesting how it becomes a family thing. You can tell there's groups of families working it's like the Western states has their specific almost, either group or family aid stations. It's like it's almost like that, but yeah, it was so great to run. Such a fun course. What do you have planned? Do you have anything sort of the gears going for any plans in the future? Maybe 2026. Any ideas? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, we're always tinkering. We've floated out there, do we do a 25K? Seems like a lot of races do a 25K, and we're on the fence with that. A lot of reasons. It's sort of like we don't want the race to become a 25K race, so we would have to limit it, and we're just not we're still on the fence. We've been a 50K. We're like we always want to be a 50K, so but it's still in the back of my mind, because we're down to 300 plus runners, 350 runners. In 2019, we had 550 runners.
What
Yeah,
would
so
the capacity of the facility or the course to be?
I think the 350 to 400 runners is a good spot. I mean, I think
So
you're
550 isn't something you want to be up to again?
no.
Yeah.
I mean, because my wife runs the race, and she'll tell me about, there's still log jams on the first 7-8 miles of the run before they separate. And by the time they finish, they're 2-3 minutes apart at the finish line. This first opening miles, if you get behind somebody, you can be behind them for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't like putting that many people, so it's kind of nice. But to us, it's the same amount of work, whether it's 550 runners or 300 runners.
You
Yeah,
can just tell you guys really put a lot into this race. Like just the fact that you're thinking about how to change it for the future years. It's like every year it's a little different. I don't know, like there's different swag, like these sweatshirts, like they're all new design. And I think the volunteers, they got like special beanies, didn't they? Or something?
Yep. A special
I mean,
hat
come
with a
on.
little,
Like most races aren't. There was just, I've been telling all my friends, everybody I run with, I'm like, you got to do hat next year. It's like a race for the people. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
a race.
a great way to put it.
It's like a race that's like, some races are all about like making a whole bunch of money and cutting corners, and doing stuff like that. This is a race that's like, you can tell the race directors are psyched to do this race. Like, and they put love and passion into it. And for those reasons, it makes the race amazing. Like, it's just so much better. Yeah.
That's how Jeff and Phil started the race. That's how I inherited it. That's how we try to continue what they started.
Yeah, I'm going back every year. It's one of this is my race. I mean, this is one of my go-to races now.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I think definitely for all of us, especially after this year's experience, I think there were also, at least for me, there were a lot of like little details that I really appreciated. Maybe these aren't little things, but at the front of races, so often we'll arrive at early aid stations and aid stations are not prepared, right? So I don't have the perspective of someone at like the back of a race who is coming into aid stations that are they're running out of things and stuff like that. I haven't had that experience, but I know in other races I've heard about those kinds of experiences. What I've experienced is a lot of times an underprepared aid station you come into early in a race and they're not ready for you because they weren't expecting you that early. I found that like at your aid stations, somebody was there with a pitcher of Gatorade, ready to go, ready to fill things up. It wasn't like anybody was being caught off guard. Everybody was prepared. Everybody was ready, and like eager to help. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It's clear that you're taking care of your volunteers that way. Also, really appreciated at check-in how efficient everything was being taken care of. First of all, we had nice little numbers, right? And that sort of scan-in process was, I'm hoping everybody's going to be adopting this, but it was the first time I've been to a race that was like this, in which it wasn't somebody leafing through a bunch of numbers trying to find your name.
Yeah.
Going back, like, what does Kirk start with? Is it a Q or, like, are you in the right line? And it's just, you walk up, you give your name, bam, bam, bam. And I was like, oh my God, they've dialed. And
I'm extremely impatient. Whenever I would go to a race to check in and there's a line and you're just like, what's going on? Why can't we get through this faster? But I can't take credit for that. Our process now, that is our timer company does all of that.
Well,
we volunteer, we give the volunteers, but she gave us that process. And so, we've been using Overland Timing since 2016, 2015, and she's been fantastic. Every year she brings something different and she helps us out. She's always like, hey, have you guys thought of this? Have you thought of that? And we're just like, she's kind of a part of our crew, even though she's a company and we pay her, but we think of her as part of our family now too, because she's always looking to improve as well. So
yay,
Melissa, if you're watching.
well-oiled machine, certainly, Tim. It's and I will be the first to say I appreciate and I do enjoy getting, swag from races. There are, however, some races that, I might be more partial to the shirt or sweatshirt. And I gotta tell you, I had this discussion with my wife. I was like, Kara, I think like I made out here as the rate. Like, I think I brought home more than like the entry fee alone. I'm like, she's getting like, my wife's getting like she's like, what I think I've worn the hat sweatshirt that Pat has on. Literally, Pat made a joke we have a group text. He said, I think I'm going to wear this for 2 weeks straight. I actually think I did wear it for 2 weeks straight.
I'm still wearing it.
It's like, it's such a quality material. The hats, like the bags, I was like, it was Carol, like I got like 3 bags. Like,
so good.
Like, and like, I'm like drinking out of the mug. I'm like, I can't stop using such a cool, it's like, I was like, we made out, like, I'm like, what's Tim's losing money on this, man, let alone the experience. Talk a little bit about the sweatshirts, and if you could, and those the mugs, which looks like a local potter had made really cool stuff.
I mean, Gin takes care of a lot of sourcing and researching and finding all that and making sure we get that sort of quality.
Mm-hmm.
But just to go back to what you were just expressing, when I ran hat in 2020 or 2003, I got a shirt. When I finished, I got a hat, and then I got shorts.
Wow.
And they all matched.
Wow.
I was just like, and I think we sent a check for $40. Yeah. We're just like, I got a shirt, a hat,
amazing.
It was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So we were just like, we got to keep doing this. And this was before we even knew Phil and Jeff. We were just like, wow. And so, we try to give back as much as we can to the runners. I mean, that's why we're here. When I talk to people at work and they're like, oh, what are you running for? What's your cause? I'm like, there's no real cause. The cause is the runners. This is about them. Yeah. They want to do something. We're trying to give back to them, give them a course to run.
Yeah.
So that is where that's always where we line up on what we give out. As far as the sweatshirts go, I think ever since 2020, not 2020, the 20th year, we did a hoodie type sweatshirt. Went over really well. It was an Under Armour gray. So I think I wore mine all week that week. And then the 2025, I think I have them wrong. I think it was not 2020, the 20th anniversary was a different sweatshirt. The 30th anniversary was the pink sweatshirt that you might have seen people wear.
Yep, saw it.
If you ever felt it, it's very comfy. You put it on, you're just like, I'm not going to take it off. So we're like, that's what we're looking for again. And Gin found these, and we were super happy with them.
Yeah.
We did a new logo design change, which anyone we talked to at marketing's like, why did you change your logo? Now you got to start all your marketing all over again. And we're like, because we just wanted to change it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
By the way, I think the logo is fantastic.
I think it's great.
Agree.
Yeah.
Super good.
I mean, kind of a little bit of a testament to that is, whereas, Chris and Pat have been wearing their sweatshirts nonstop, I haven't had a chance to wear mine because my wife's wearing it all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not just something that people are wanting to wear because, it's like, hey, I ran the race. I love it. I think they're like, oh, this looks good. It feels good.
Yep.
Want to wear it. So you've done a really good job, on so many fronts there. But I do want to say, all the swag aside, these are fun things. You are putting on a great race, right? Like that is, I think, what is really going to bring everybody back, because you want to show off what you did. You want to put the sticker on the back of your car. You want to wear the hat around and stuff like that. But you want to do it because of the experience that you had out there on the course, racing. It's undeniable. Those trails are fun.
Yeah, they are.
Those trails are really fun to run on. I know I personally got my first experience mountain biking on those when I was a teenager, racing bikes down there years and years and years ago. And they're even more fun to run on, right? They're just fantastic. And as we've said, the volunteers, the structure of the race has been great. And hopefully something that we brought was this little bit of a team atmosphere to it. And I want to thank you and your timer as well for facilitating that, right? And formalizing it a little bit. And I
Oh
want to
yeah.
know a little bit like about whether you see a future in this, because we're excited about that being something. But do you see a future in the team racing dynamic?
I mean, I do because I'm looking for any sort of option to hey, would people have fun with this? And just from outsiders' perspectives, and yes, I was part of the racing, so I had an interest in it. But people were coming up to me going, "Well, who won? Who was this race? Who was this?" So there was some interest already growing, and I'm
Cool.
like, "All right, we just have to keep that going."
Cool.
And I was talking to, and I can't believe I didn't remember this, but Bull Run Run does a team event.
Okay.
And I'm like, right, they do.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. We never entered it because there's only like 3 of us running at the time, and you needed
Sure.
4. And so we're like, all right. And so they do 4 runners. All 4 have to finish, and it's by place, which was your aspect was time, which I thought was just so unique. I'm like, oh, and the way you described it, like you can't just coast in because no one's gonna
Yeah.
pass you. You got to keep going hard. And like,
Yeah.
wow, that's effort. So I don't see why not. It's from a organizational standpoint, it doesn't add a lot to us. We have to put some rules in. I was looking at Bull Run Run earlier today, like, team names. Make sure your team name is, PG-13,
Yeah,
things
right.
like that. But
There's a
it's
few
not,
around.
Yeah.
and when you contacted me, I put it out to our timer and said, well, what can you do with this? And she liked the challenge, and so she came up with it, and she's like, yeah, we can do this. And so I don't, it's not going to add a lot of not work on our end. It's just not going to be, it's going to be something that we can do, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like, oh my God, that's just added 50 hours to our weekend. It's not, that's not what I'm, so I don't see why not. I just don't know how to, right now, I don't know how to promote it to make sure it's a fun thing. And do we promote it as a competitive thing? Well, I don't see why not. Do we still do fun things like what I was just looking at Bull Run Run? They have an oldest category, and it's just the team with the 4 oldest finishers.
Oh, that's great.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't see a downside to that. So things like that, and they do a slowest team.
Nice.
Well, so Tim, I think that's interesting. And I think, well, for a couple things, sort of unpacking what you're just mentioning there. Number one is I think it speaks volumes to the organization that is Hat, right? You and the other RDs, as you're always, Linda, we touched upon this earlier, you're always looking to improve or add something, or maybe create a new aspect that will make it more engaging to the runners. I think that's a sign of a healthy race, and a race that should organically almost not run itself, but be attractive for runners. Making something new, making something fun, and I love the idea too of those different categories, because this was brought up in our pre-race pod. Was we're all out there for different reasons, and I sort of got ahead of myself a little bit, and I think it might have been Nico that corrected or jumped in and say, I'm like, I am in a race to compete, right? I'm there to compete. I'm there to have fun, but I'm there to compete. I want to see how fast I can go, and I think most people are, but some people are there to finish, and that's great. Right. And that's great. So to have these different teams and these different categories, I think that just opens it up to more interest among different types of runners. And I think it's fascinating that you're looking at a race like Bull Run that has been, I don't know what it was, just run this past weekend. And I don't know what year that, how many years Bull Run has been in existence. Many, right? And it just keeps on ticking and clicking. It's one of those sort of cult following races. I think Hat already does have a cult following as one of those, those mainstays in the, sort of tri-state or mid-Atlantic area. But again, I think adding these different aspects is only going to attract more runners. And I just think it's outside of the box, frankly. It's not the norm. So thank you for doing that. And it's interesting that you're discussing that, as other options. But what I would like to do, if I could, quickly interject, because while we're on the team subject, I just, conveniently sitting downstairs with me have this beautiful trophy, right? Which
Look at it.
Which Pat so kindly gave up as the winning trophy. So this is what Team PA was awarded with. So Tim, Tim, I wanted to show this to you here, as top banana. Top
You have to
banana.
pass that down
That's
to
the
the
trophy.
kids when they grow up and
Yeah,
keep it in the
exactly, right?
family.
Yeah,
Are you
exactly.
sharing that throughout the year, or how's that working?
Yeah. What's that?
Are you going to share the trophy for everybody throughout the year?
I think so. I got to pass it around to the other guys, to Sam and the other guys, and then I think it'll be passed to we already have other things between the Maryland and PA team, different contests or races in the works here. So I'm sure it'll be passed back and forth. So it can be something as almost like a Stanley Cup esque type trophy, right, to pass back and forth between the winning team depending on the race. But a lot of fun. Thanks for doing that again with the teams. I think that was so much fun.
Yeah, I want to be clear about one thing here. I did not score for Team PA, so I don't have any to the banana or any bragging rights whatsoever. I was purely part of the organizational strategy and did not actually score for the team. But Tim, I wanted to ask you another question because, hat has been around for a long time. Also, trail running has really blown up, right? So they're like when hat first started off, I'm guessing there weren't I'm sure there were not a lot of races around at the 50K distance. And like even in, like 2003, when you were running it, probably when you started RDing in 2008 and things along those lines, probably were not a lot of races around. Now there are a huge amount of races. There are races every weekend, every distance, all over the place, and there's a lot of people competing for attention, both at like the from the like kind of the UTMB type feeling of things, down to the local races. So maybe you could speak to us a little bit about like how you guys have been rising to those challenges. We've talked about it a little bit here, but maybe you can just kind of speak about a little bit of that from the RD perspective and how you're addressing that.
I don't know if we don't have plans to like, all right, we have to think about how we're going to stay competitive. We just stay true to our core, which is how do we make this the best race we can, and how do we improve it every year? What can we do this year or next year that says, hey, this is different. They're going to like this. What new foods can we do? Everyone likes bacon now and tater tots. And so we're like, all right, let's make sure we have these things at our race. I don't run anymore. My wife does all the ultra running in the family, but I'll go to races to support her. So I'm seeing other races, and I'm from the spectator crew aspect. I get to see what they're doing. So I'm looking around. I'm always evaluating and going, oh, I like what they did. Or, ooh, they just packed up and they have a half hour left in their race. Why? There's nothing worse than coming into an aid station and everything's packed up. That's terrible. We will never do that. So you're just like, all right. So we're still learning, what can we do? Kicked around in the last few years, like how are we going to do a TikTok? Do we go that route? And we're like, we have no idea what we're doing. His daughter, who's a junior in high school. So we're like, hey, can you help us out? Can you put together something that people might like? What is good on TikTok? We don't know. We struggle with the social.
I thought you guys did pretty good, with the social media. Like, I'm not on TikTok, but Instagram seemed pretty good. Seemed, active.
Trying to get there.
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
We don't. We're not as active throughout the year as other races.
That's okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Is it too much? Is it not enough? So
I thought it was just right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you track like returning runners versus new runners, and like whether you're retaining runners and stuff like that?
We have some of that. Like I don't know if we pay that much attention to it. I'm not sure what we would do with that. We've talked about. We've talked about do we do like a 5-year award, a 10-year award. And we're like, well, we're 35 years in. How do we go back and make sure we give the awards for everyone else who's done it so many years? Or do we just start and say, if someone comes up to us and says, hey, I did it in 2001 to 2007, you go, well, here you go. We do kick the back around to reward people for coming back. It's in the idea mill.
Yeah.
Bull Run does pins, and you get a pin. They used to do pins, like a 1-year pin, a 5-year pin, 10-year pin. We have all that information right at the finish line, so it's easy enough to go, oh, this is their 5th year. Here's something.
Yeah, I think there are people that are incentivized by that. I feel like you've also created so many incentives just within the event itself for people to come back. That's why I was kind of wondering, like you said, you have the volunteers that were, have been volunteering for 25 years and things along those lines. You have people coming back. You're taking care of your volunteers. You're taking care of your athletes. That was kind of my curiosity about whether you had, like this sort of like, yeah, we got this base of runners that are coming every year, and then we add 10, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, there's a set. We do know the people that keep coming back every year. They always set up in the same place. We reserve spots. We're like, all right, you guys can have this tent spot by the corn crib. That's yours for this year. And they keep coming back every year. So it's, we like people to keep coming back. But I also understand what it's like to get tired of doing a race and saying, all right, I've done that race enough. That's a great race. I'm going to go do something else. And so we're hoping those people go, well, I'm going to start volunteering and jump into that side of it. We try to keep them as happy as possible too.
So with what we perceived as such a strong volunteer base, is that something you're still looking for more people and trying to grow that?
The volunteers?
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty full.
That's a good problem to have.
Wow, yeah.
It's a great
That's
problem
great.
to have.
Yeah.
We could use an extra course marshal here and there throughout the day. But, we had enough people Sunday that we were finished by 3:00 Sunday afternoon, which is a record for us. We're like, I get to go home, spend it with my wife. This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Maybe you can do some trading with some other races, deal prospect to Blues Cruise or whatever.
Well, it's you know what, Sam, it's funny you brought that up. I see a lot of parallels, Tim. The Blues Cruise in PA around Blue Marsh Lake is it's a race that I've been to a few times myself, and it's a standalone 50K, no other distances, and they've been running that not as long as Hat, but 20, quite a while, and I see a lot of parallels, and it's, Hat I will continue to come back to for sure. Blues Cruise, I almost always, I'm like, I'm not going to do it this year. There's so many other races out there. I'm like, I'll probably do it. It's one of those races, and Hat the same. I think it's unique where, hey, if you decide to bring in the 25K, great, right? I know you have great reasons for that. I think it's really neat how you have the standalone 50K, and that's sort of one of the trademarks to Hat, is one of the trademarks to Blues Cruise.
It's old school,
it is.
This is our race, and I like the way Patapsco does their 25K. They give a separate award. You do the 25K, you get this, and you do the 50K, you get the mug. You know what I mean? It's separate. You don't get the same thing. But I wish they would do a different shirt, So. And those are things that we look at. We're like, if we did a 25K, I don't want a shirt that says 50K, 25K on it.
Yeah.
50K shirt, and you get something different to do the 25K. That's me personally, and so I've always been. And so when you start doing that, you lose buying power, right? So if you're like, I have to buy 150 shirts,
right,
$20 instead of $15, what's that do?
Sure.
So those are things we think about that no one else does. They're like, why don't you just add it? Because there's a lot to it.
There's another piece there too that I know that a lot of races that have the like 25K, 50K, especially if it's a lap race, like what you have, that some races give the option of dropping down, right? So you can get a finish without finishing the race that you entered. I mean, look, I'm not going to knock any races. I'm not going to point any fingers at, certain races, but I feel like I don't like that so much. One of the challenges of Hat, and I think, Chris heard me talking through this one, so the most recent iteration is going out for that second lap.
Definitely.
And there's something about that where you come through the finish, or the start finish area, and you got to go out again, and you're already tired. Everybody's right there. You could just, and if you're somehow able to get a hat when you do that, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of people taking a hat in a different color with the 25. So I don't know. I'd be wary of it too.
We're not there yet, but it's always something we think about because there is a big interest in it. People really want to come out and do just one loop.
Yeah, they can. They just don't get a finish.
Well, the people that did, the ones that we had to stop because they missed the cutoff, or the ones that didn't choose not to go, we did give them the finisher's bag, but we took the hat. They didn't get the hat. We're like,
There you
the
go.
hat,
That's fair.
you have to finish the race to get the hat,
That's fair.
and it's always been that way. So it's,
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair. Yeah, I think that's more than fair. Yeah.
we end up with a lot of stuff at the end.
I've got to put something out here, by the way. This is just wondering what other people think about this. Why do no races give, like at the 100K distance, or we could even do it at the 50K distance, a belt? Like a finish.
The buckles.
Got all these buckles.
To go with the buckle.
Why can't there be a belt?
It's true.
I want a 100K
And it makes sense.
belt so I can put my 100-mile buckle.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really good idea. There's a race that needs to do that.
Very interesting idea.
How am I the first person to come up with this?
Great. And it should be 100K would be most appropriate because it's the step right before 100 mile.
Exactly. I got two buckles over here, no belt.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Man,
the fun of getting a buckle is finding a belt to put it on. So
there you go.
This is
I
a great
guess
idea.
you already had it. If it says, I don't know, rattlesnake 100K on it,
within our club, we used to have a special ceremony for people who did their 100. We'd get them a belt and we'd present them with the belt and be like, "Hey, congratulations, you got your 100."
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was just the thing it was a club thing, but it was
That's great.
because not a lot of people do hundreds, and there is when you go to 100, you see all these people, but in life, there's just not a lot of people who do.
No, you're right. You're right. Tim, was that a running group? Are you originally from the Maryland area? You live in Maryland currently?
I technically was born in Baltimore, but I grew up in Michigan. So I moved down here in the mid '90s.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's the Harford County Running Club. It's sort of
great.
The race is part of that. So.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, that's neat. So we're sort of reliving that a little bit here with our two separate groups and joining them. It's fun to hear, about the, some clubs from the past years. And I don't know if that club is still current or not. Current. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Now we're members of the Baltimore Roadrunners Club, which I know I see Pat at races. He doesn't get me, but I see him there.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. And Tim, one of our goals, Sam and I, and Bear Wright, our team in general, now with Pat and his crew is to hopefully join, and one of the purposes of the podcast and the goals and the hopes of the podcast is to join some of these clubs together. Obviously, there's different social media platforms now in which you can find those East Coast, if you will, clubs, right? Because that's rarely who we're trying to cater towards, but one of our goals again is to help, bring these different clubs or crews or teams or groups together and, socialize and learn about each other, learn some of the local trails, some of the local races, and hopefully do more of these things, get involved with the races themselves. And hopefully we can give back, and hopefully we can volunteer, and hopefully we can talk to the RD and say thank you for this and this, like some feedback. Hey, this is what we loved about this. We love this. Wow, whatever it may be, and just trying to loop everybody together, into one big community. So it's fun to hear that that you had that club when you were running, and that's something we're trying to do, connect everybody together. So that's pretty neat.
And we also joined the Virginia Happy Trails Club just because.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good people to know. So, and we stole from them; they stole from us.
That's great.
So is Hat the only trail race that that you're involved with?
I am officially, yes. That's enough. One.
Yeah.
So also just out of curiosity, outside of like the race weekend itself, do you have an estimation of how many hours are going into putting on a race like this?
No, because Gin's work begins June, or he's probably already contacting companies now to say, hey, what do you got? Show me. Let's look at hats. Let's look at shirts, things like that. The trail work that we put in. Getting Ultra Sign up, which is not hard to get it set up, but then monitoring it, dealing with all the questions that come through. I don't know.
Yeah.
Getting the volunteers set up.
It's a mature race too, so I'm guessing that a lot of that is streamlined at this point. But you know,
It is, and part of that's Gin's. Gin is very organized, attention to detail. He's got all of our plans put in place. You know, we never used to document anything, and so now we have a race plan planned out because of him. So it makes it a little easier for us to do, but it's still time.
yeah. Well, thanks for all of it because
Really,
Mhm.
it's
really.
been fantastic.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is our volunteer appreciation night, so
Nice.
you take everything
It's
you
great.
said about volunteers and go to the event tomorrow and be like, hey, just
That's
want to give you
awesome.
more kudos. People are
That
like
is awesome.
hooking you up, so it's fun.
That is awesome.
Yeah, well,
Love
please share our immense gratitude
Yeah.
Yeah.
to all of them. I'm sure I speak for everyone at the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're just so grateful for everything they were doing.
Yeah.
We need to make them
I know.
watch this so that they.
Yeah.
I know we tell them, but to watch
Yeah.
you, you know, I can sense your gratitude. I can feel it. I can hear
Yeah.
it, and I just need them to see that.
Yeah.
Well, try to
Love
get
it.
this up as soon as I can.
Yeah.
That I know that you're very grateful, and I know that
Yeah.
they think you are, but when
Yeah.
they see someone say that, you're just like, wow, it's amazing. Thank you.
And Tim, it's so nice that we all like unanimously felt the same way. And you know, I've run countless races, right? And Sam, you have, Pat, you've been running for like we've all been running for so long that it's not like, you know, hey, this is our first ultra, this is our first trail race, this is great, you know. It's like, no, like we've been racing and you know lucky enough to be, you know, to be part of so many different events over the years. So it's not like, hey, this is our first time experiencing this. Like it's not at all, not by a long shot. And to, you know, to have, we're just blown away, you know, not being newbies to everything. You know, you guys knocked it out of the park. So
Thanks.
we'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
And you guys run a little differently than most of the runners out there. So,
Yeah.
you know, you don't need as much from the aid stations. You're coming through and just filling up and going.
Yeah.
You know, we try to make sure that the volunteers know that, hey, grab their bottles, tell them we'll fill it up. You go eat, things like that. Just take care of the runners.
It's awesome. I think it was. I gotta tell. I don't know who this particular volunteer was, but I gotta shout him out. It would have been the mile. Is it 12? The mile 12, first loop, mile 12 aid station in the parking lot before you know ascending up
I
the
saw
hill.
I saw this from about 150 meters behind it. I saw this interaction.
This gentleman, he was like, you know, like thinner, taller, and he like sprinted out to me with Gatorade and water, like double fisting, like ready to go. And I was okay at the time, right? I was gonna come back in and I was gonna collect two more flask handheld bottles, and I'm like, I'm okay, but he was probably like 100 yards out.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, the only thing I need is a trash can. And I had like 15 people directing me to this trash can. Right. And there was like 5 trash cans. Right. And I'm like, this is like, it's like rolling out the red carpet. And it's just, and the same thing happened on the second loop. It's not like they wore out their enthusiasm. Right. This is like, you know, 3.5 hours or more into the race the second time. And there's still doing the same thing. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. So, and it keeps you engaged as a runner because they're so energized. Like the aid station, like they're really taking it. It seems like they're taking ownership. And I don't know if do you have the same groups of people working the same aid stations every year? It seems that way.
Yep.
It seems that way. It's like they're taking ownership of them, and it's so fun to see, and that it stimulates you as a runner too. It's just so much fun. That energy is really contagious. So whoever that was, I don't, you know,
Not
super,
sure who it
you know,
was.
depictive, like, you know, I'm not very depictive there on who it was, but whoever that gentleman was, it was so cool. So thank you to him and all the volunteers. It was great. It was really great.
I
Well-
can't wait to tell.
Yeah.
I want to start to try to wrap up here a little bit. We're approaching the hour point here, and you know, I got to thank Tim and Pat for volunteering their time here tonight with us.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you guys.
Because
Most
yeah,
welcome.
this has been great. Pat, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, not much for me. Just I've literally told like everybody I've been on runs with, you got to go to Hat with me next year. We're going back, and you're coming with me. So
Yeah.
I hope to bring a bigger team next year.
Yeah,
Word of mouth
let's
is
do it.
perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah. Us too, exactly. Yeah.
A bigger team, faster team, or just
Yeah,
bigger?
all that. Probably both. Because I'm going to make them train for it all year. Our training for Hat 2026 started yesterday.
That's awesome.
Right.
Love it.
Here we go. Here we go.
Love it. Love it. Well, that's, little healthy trash talking and
Yeah.
throughout the year.
Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll be great. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tim. Let's let you have the final word here on Hat. It is your race. You're the RD, and just anything you want to say to the Bear Right community out there to kind of finish things up here.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to be put on the spot like that. That's no, just we've mentioned this a million times. We try to give back to the runners. This is a runner forward race. That's what we do. We appreciate you guys like reaching out with the podcast. And I don't know Pat, you reached out, which I thought was fantastic. It was like, how do we fit this in the last minute? This is, this is easy. We just contact the race or the runner or the timer, put a little Instagram post together or something, and from there it sort of started snowballing a little bit. There's enough interest there. I think that we can do something in the future. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Wouldn't it be nice if we could connect other races and put together maybe a series? I don't know. Just thinking big picture. Something
We'll have to have you on again, Tim, because
Yep.
you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would it be a series of 50Ks or would it be a stepped up thing? 50K, 50 miler, 100K, 100 miler series? How would you do it? I don't know.
Yeah, goodness, we're just scratching the surface here. So
Yeah.
here at an hour, we finally get into team racing and the actual, the ins and outs of it. But maybe we'll have to save that for another time.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I hope that we can. Maybe some of these conversations we can have offline as well. But I just want to say thanks again to everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Great having you on here. To all those out there listening, happy trails.
Good luck with the rest of your races.